Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is part 5 of her Sero X female listener. Enjoy. Oh, you just looked at him and he looked at you, both trying to hide the big smiles you wanted to let free. Todoroki's in the other lounge. Where do you want to go? Sero asked, desperately hoping that you would suggest his room. He wanted to be alone with you, but he didn't want you to feel pressured into anything, so he wanted to let you make the suggestion. Where are we allowed to go? You asked shyly, biting your bottom lip a little as you looked up at him. He blushed wildly, seeing that look in your eye. You both knew you wanted to be alone in private, even just for a little bit. Against his internal gentleman wanting to maintain a good stature, Sero opened his mouth to suggest his room, but was interrupted by Mina, who suddenly bounced over and slung an arm across both your and his shoulders. Hey, you two! Let's not stand around in front of the door where you can easily be seen by a small purple villain, she said, the second half of that sentence sounding very pointed, as if she was referring to someone. You had no idea, but Sero suddenly snapped to attention, quickly looking past Mina and then reaching out to take your hand while he kept an eye out down the hall. Oh, we'll go to my room, he suddenly said, looking back to Mina. Hold him off. And with that, Mina let you both go, and he turned and purposefully started pulling you in the direction of the hallway. Sero, is everything okay? You asked, feeling his apprehension through his hand holding yours. Yeah, sure, it's fine, but we need to move, he said urgently. That sounds bad. Is something going to happen? You asked nervously, looking back over your shoulder and half expecting to see a big purple slime villain sliding under the locked front door. I just don't want him to see you, that's all, Sero said softly. Him? Who is him? You asked curiously, taking an extra running step every now and again to keep up with him as he was picking up the pace a little more. You keep talking about this mysterious person, but you haven't told me any real details about him. Seeing his room ahead, Sero beelined for it and grabbed the handle, opening it quickly and pulling you in before closing the door behind you both and locking it. What's going on? Please tell me, you said again with begging eyes, standing in the middle of his room while he stood with his back to the door. Sero hung his head and scratched the back of his neck while averting his eyes to the left, locking his gaze onto his wooden desk chair. Well, Yin, I don't want to come off as too attached or anything, but I really like you, and I want to keep you safe from someone because they're a scumbag. A scumbag? You asked. I'm not understanding. Who is it? A classmate, unfortunately. And he's the worst, Sero said. Why? What's he gonna do? You asked curiously. I have an idea of some of the things he'd try and do to you, but I don't want to say them because they make me mad, Sero admitted, finally venturing to make eye contact. Your mind didn't have much to go on, but just pieced together all the little pieces of information it had on this scumbag of a classmate and came up with something fairly terrifying, like a big purple monster with an evil grin and tentacled arms that wrapped around your legs and disappeared up under your skirt, your echoing screams aching into your brain and gifting your face a terrified look. Sero gave you an apologetic look and took his hand from the back of his head and then stepped towards you. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you, but I promise you that I'll keep you safe. You're safe in my room, he said confidently. Your terrified look gave way to relief, and you reached out to hug him, stepping into his embrace and feeling immediately reassured. Thank you, Sero, and, I really like you too, you said shyly, gripping his shirt and refusing to look up at him so that he wouldn't see the shy look on your face. He grinned. His heart felt light. I'm glad it's not just me, he said with a small relieved chuckle. It was then that you ventured to look up into his face, and you both stood there still hugging and looking up at each other. It didn't take very long for the desire to kiss to take over, and your mouths found each other, bodies pressed together more firmly, as if you feared that someone were about to break in and rip you two apart. Slowly Sero sidestepped, taking you closer to the bed, but not because he wanted to take things further, but just so that you could sit down and enjoy the stage that you two were at. At first you sat side by side, but soon you found your legs draped over his legs, and his hands stroked up your thigh, detailing the difference between the softness of your knee-high socks compared with the softness of your skin. He didn't venture far, as he didn't want you to feel uncomfortable with his advances, but the way you were kissing him back was telling him that you were into it as much as he was. You were just about to get started exploring him with your hands when the loudspeaker in the hall crackled to life. "Greetings, students," the voice said. "Oh, that's Aizawa again," Sero said after having broken away from the kiss. "The authorities are taking a while to get here, as they've plenty of other important things to be doing and have deemed the situation a non-threat. Seeing as they're in no hurry to come here, it looks like this lockdown will be ongoing for an undetermined amount of time, and it would be best if we prepare for it to be at least into the night. I believe there is one visitor in the dorms, and seeing as I cannot get in, would the visitor please notify their parents that they will be staying overnight, and I'll send a formal apology once I'm able to get in. If the visitor is of female origin, they must sleep within a female classmate's room. And if the visitor is of male origin, they must stay with a male classmate. Deviation from this rule will bring dire consequences. Thank you." The announcement ended there, and you looked at Sero, and he looked at you. "Well, I was going to suggest that you stay here, but looks like I'll be in big trouble if they find out," he said. "Maybe I'll ask one of the girls if you can stay with them. They're all really cool, so you'll be fine. But don't worry, we don't have to part now. It's not bedtime yet." And your lips collided once more to continue where you'd left off. And there ends part 5. Tomorrow will bring part 6, so I'll see you there.